Whoa, buddy. Put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com and across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translator. Good morning, my friends. Welcome to the program. Big, beautiful Thursday for today. Quick look, only weather alert going on right now across the state of Alaska is one for the Anchorage area and the Upper Kenai Peninsula, where there is snow expected, 6 to 12 inches in localized areas, up to 18 inches possible. That is from 10 a.m. this morning through Friday. Oh, I dodged the bullet. I'm going through there this morning. Anyway, it's going to be good stuff as we get ready to go. Current temperature outside the studios here in Homer is about 9 degrees and looking like about 7 degrees up in Anchorage. So warming up just a little bit. We're all good this morning and ready to go. On the program today, Senator George Rauscher joining us. He's going to be with us here for just 2 segments, so we're going to get to him real quick here because we don't have a lot of time. And we're going to be chatting with him about his change to the Senate from the House and some of the hot bills that are going on out there. In hour 2, former Representative Ben Carpenter will be joining us, a host of the new show Oversight Live. We'll be talking with him here in hour 2. On the big radio show. So hopefully you stick around for that. Because we don't have a whole lot of time, I'm not going to dawdle at all. We're going to jump on over here. I see Senator George Rauscher is in the studio, but his camera is now obscured. We're going to bring him on the program here anyway and see what he has to say. Good morning, sir. Can you hear us?
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm on Teams and I'm on my phone. I don't. You know, I'll be honest, I'm not sure how this works, but I've got a Teams up on my. Is that not part of the podcast? Or?
No, you should just be on the phone on the StreamYard link that I sent you. That should be that should be where you're at right now.
Well, then we'll use that one.
Okay,
right.
There you
Sounds
go.
Good.
Look at that. It got real good. So thanks for coming in and joining us. We appreciate you. We appreciate you coming on and visiting with us today. We haven't, you and I haven't talked in, I look back on my banner or on my schedule and my text. It's been 5-6 years since we've had a chance to chat. So it's good to have you back on the program. Thank you for coming on. So first things first, George, most folks probably know that you spent a lot of time in the House over there, but of course with the departure of Mike Shower, who's running for office, you've moved over to the Senate. So first and foremost, I guess, how was that transition, and how is it different from how is your time in the House versus what you're seeing now in the Senate here?
Yeah. So, Mike, thank you very much for having me on the show. I appreciate it. It's always a pleasure, and you're correct. I spent 9 years in the House, and I'm from Sutton. The area is from Valdez all the way to Wasilla, and then now the new Senate area goes from Valdez through Lake Louise, Palm Loop area, and Palmer, all the way from Wasilla all the way up to Houston, and takes in the Point Mac area. It's a really huge district. I don't really know a lot of the people in the new district, so that's been new for me. I've been trying to make most of the community council meetings, most of the city council meetings, trying to get my feet wet in the area, to understand all the different needs for each one of those communities. So that one is a change. As far as this building goes, it was a change. That the offices are different. Senate offices are not House offices. House offices are not Senate offices. So I had to move out of my other office over to a Senate office. I'm up here on the fourth floor, room 419. And it's the first time I've ever had a pretty good view. So that's a plus. So we have 20 in the Senate. We have 40 in the House. The House was a very interesting dynamic for me in 9 years' time. We had whether you were Democrat or Republican or independent, we were all kind of a family, and you got to know them over 9 years. So now I'm with a group of senators that we've exchanged bills with, that we've talked to when it comes to finding a partner on the other side of the building to run a companion bill with. But now we're actually interacting with them. And one thing I'd like to say is I'm glad that Senator Tilton has came along with me. It's been at least we have a friendly face, somebody we've worked with very constantly together, somebody who we vote a lot alike. We have the same kind of ideology. We come from the valley together. It's so that's been a help. I think that there's a difference, an error in the Senate. I haven't really been able to quite put my finger on it, but I know we spend a lot of time just enjoying each other in the House, and in the Senate we don't do that as much. It's more of a business ideology. You get your business done before you get to the floor. They already know how you want to vote before you vote. The discussions are very few. You don't have 40 people talking because your vote does more of that for you. We do a lot of the talking to people in letters. We do it in emails. We do it in cards. We do it in that type of an atmosphere. So it is a little bit different. It's kind of a lot different. The style that they use on the floor. You stand if you want to be put on a co-sponsor on a bill. You stand up and you ask for unanimously if you could have that. We're in the House. You have a little green piece of paper. You just give it to the clerk and you're automatically put on there. It's polite to ask in the House if your name might disturb the bill from moving further. That's done a lot, but most of the time it's just a green piece of paper, and so that's different. The way you ask for permission to do almost everything on the floor in the Senate is a lot different. So it's been a learning curve. I make the mistake. I call the Senate President Speaker. I've probably done that more times than I should, but after 9 years of saying Mr. Speaker, I find it kind of hard to break the habit. I really thank this. I thank the Senate President for putting up with that. And I know he probably has heard it from many who come over. Shelley Hughes came from the House. Senator Kawasaki came from the House. Senator Clayman came from the House. So I'm sure there was a learning curve for all of those. So actually, I'm here with about 7 people that I used to be with in the House. It's kind of an interesting dynamic also that moved ahead.
No, I'm sure that there's a huge learning curve and everything else, but definitely it shows that there is a difference between the two bodies and you're working through it. One of the major things that we've seen, I want to get into some of the bills that we've been talking about. Of course, the one that has been consuming a lot of the oxygen in the room is the supplemental budget bill, which came over from the House with a $540 million price tag. The Senate carved it down to $373 million rather, and with a vote from the CBR, and that was a unanimous vote from the Senate. And now the House, of course, has it held up, and it's going to a conference committee. Talk to me about that bill, your thoughts on it, and your vote to draw from the CBR on that. as opposed to what your cohorts in the House are feeling right now?
Yeah, I appreciate the question. We each had that bill at a different time in history. So when the original bill started in the House, and they actually ran a few amendments, which they tried to get through. Some of the amendments were basically the amendment that we got through, which pared it down, as you said, from 535 or $540 million down to the $373 million level. So, that was a challenge. That's not easy to do. When you have a bill where people have Christmas treed it up in some respects, or at least the people thought those were very important to be in the supplemental, where we didn't think so. We agreed with our minority members in the House. So I believe it was a challenge to get that through. We did. There's a give and take in everything. So at the time, the what President Trump has been doing over there in the Middle East was very new, and so the price of oil was low. We were told that it had to be at about 105 for almost 3 months for that amount of money to be able to pay for itself and not be a CBR. But yet, there's also the fact that we were trying to work together with the majority to get what we needed to do was pare that down. So the CBR vote came into play. Now we knew when it goes back over to the House, they still have their say in a concurrence because that's how it works. Now, during the meantime, a lot had happened in the Middle East and the price of oil had escalated. In fact, I thought I got in on the curve there, ordered oil for my house, the heating oil, and it was already up $5 and some odd. And I paid $1,600 for 300 and some gallons of heating oil. So I got behind the curve on that one. But anyway, so now the House is faced with the price of oil going up, and and they also were waiting on a Department of Revenue to come in with a projection for the year. Now they got different numbers because it's a little further ahead in time. So their numbers are to where they believe that it can withstand a CBR vote, that there'll be enough money in the coffers there to be able to pay for this. So that's the history of how this evolved on both sides.
And if you had had the information, would you have been more reticent to draw from the CBR if you'd had the spring revenue forecast in hand and had a little bit of those numbers? Would it have made you more reticent to draw from the CBR on that?
I think it depends on whether or not we would have succeeded in getting the pared down from 540 all the way down to 373, because I probably would have voted no on the 500 to begin with. It was not pared down. You see what I'm saying? That was just there was too much. So the important part was I've got 450 miles of federally funded state highways, and that's a big number that was in there. $70 million times 9 plus the 70 to begin with is $700 million for projects, and a lot of them were on the Richardson Highway. If you were listening to the House yesterday, they put a lot of those projects out there. A lot of them were in my district. So this is a very important aspect to trying to decide what you should do. But if you've got a lot of fluff in there, I'm not sure I would have voted for it to begin with. The CBR vote, like I say, it all depends how it works out when you're trying to deal with the Senate, trying to get things that you want accomplished and what you're going to have to give up to do it.
Senator George Rauscher is our guest. That's a good leaving spot here. We're going to continue in just a second. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more with him. He's going to be with us till about 40 after. And then we've got Ben Carpenter coming up in hour 2, the host of Oversight Live, which you haven't been following on YouTube. You should go over there and check it out. We'll be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
So, Michael, are we on right now? Can you and I talk without being
100% pure beard power. Oh, also some coffee. We dip our beard in coffee.
Ha, nice beard.
The Michael Duke Show.
Okay, now we're in the break, ready to go. Sorry about that, George. What were you saying there before we were so rudely interrupted?
I'm just fine, but it probably would have had a bearing on the CBR vote. It really would have.
It would have, yeah. I mean, if you'd had the information, then you would have had a second thought about whether or not to draw from the CBR or just pay for it.
Oh yeah, we could pay for it out of the budget. Why not? Why we don't need to draw it out of savings? That's a definite. I still think we're trying to negotiate here, but we would have been very hard to actually vote for a CBR vote. We really would have.
Well, and I think that's why I've been pleasantly surprised that the House has stuck so hard on this, because again, we don't want to give any more headroom, because we've heard this phrase headroom floating around a little bit. We don't want to give the option that they would have access to another $373 million that would just be spent. I think at that point, I mean, if they spent it out of the CBR and it ended up we had all this extra money, then somebody would want to just spend it instead of depositing it back in the CBR to pay it back. So I would agree with the House right now that we need to hold that money close to the vest, and it should be saved if it can be, because again, this is like a one-time deal. This is like you found all this money in the couch, and you're never going to find it again. And we hope that that's going to change.
We've got a conference committee now. Then if you look at the setup of the conference committee, the minority only has 2 members against 4. What can come out of there? That's anybody's game right now, right? It's hard to say.
Yeah.
We don't have the votes to stop whatever happens with 4 people against 2, 4 from the majorities, the 2 majorities, 2 from each. So anyway, those are, let me talk about a few bills I'm carrying. Do you mind?
Sure. Yeah. Well, we're in the break right now. We're 2 minutes away. It's just you, me, and 50 of our closest friends on the internet right now as we cruise through. So if you'll hold on a second before you get too deep into the meat of it, I want to share.
And if you want, I'll go back and say about the CBR vote, but I do want to get some of the bills that I'm carrying.
No, we'll get to that here. That was going to be my first question when we got back.
Perfect. Thank you.
So that everybody can hear it at the same time.
Good.
Have you found that the Senate? You said that it is different. You said it's like coming from a group of friends or family to a more business-like atmosphere in the Senate.
Yes.
More, I guess more. I guess what do we call that? Transactional, more than relational at that point. Do you find it easier? Do you find it harder? Is it or is it just different? Where are you at?
Well, I think it's just different. I have a personality where I like to talk to people. I don't mind radio, but I don't use it because I don't think of it. I don't listen to it. And I don't do the internet, so I don't watch podcasts. I'm very foreign to that. I'm older. I didn't grow up with all that, so that's not a medium that I use. But I do relationships a lot. Otherwise, I couldn't be getting 70% when I run against someone in my own district, right? So obviously, there's a personality that I have, and there's a contact that I make in my own personalized district. District 30 is one I've been trying to make happen. So, but the Senate, it's not so much. It's not that era. Not with me yet, anyway. Maybe they haven't accepted me yet. I don't know.
Right. Well, I mean, it definitely it sounds like it's a completely different critter, and I'm sure that there's going to be an adjustment period there, and we'll make you got to make those exceptions here. We are 41 seconds right now from rejoining the radio, so we're going to come back to you here in just a second. I'm going to mute you for just a second here. We're going to come back and talk to you. Folks, don't forget to like and follow the show. Like and subscribe on YouTube, Facebook, or Rumble. If you haven't on any of those places, still trying to reach 1,000 followers on YouTube. and we're slowly working our way up there, 3 or 4 at a time. But we still need about 200 folks to hit that 1,000 mark on YouTube. So make sure you go out there and subscribe if you haven't yet. Subscribe and ring the bell. That's where we got to do it. Okay, we're coming up on it. The Michael Duke Show, common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Let's get to it.
The Michael Duke Show, proudly splitting the left versus right dichotomy. Yeah, I had to look that word up too. I don't think it means what he thinks it means. Here he is, though. That guy, Michael Dukes, the one with the show.
Okay, we are continuing. Senator George Rauscher, our guest here on the program. We've got him until about 40 after or so we want to get right back down into it. Senator, I know you're probably working on some bills. You got some things that you're focusing on. What's been your target since you got into the Senate here? What are you working on, and what are you attempting to accomplish here?
Yeah, I appreciate that very much. As you know, I think one of the most important bills that I'm carrying, and I don't know how far it's going to get, but I believe one of the most important bills is the heartbeat bill. Representative Vance is carrying that on the House side. On the Senate side now, it's SB 271, and it's in Health and Social Services. I believe that's a very important bill. Our state has very little, I guess we really don't have any, as far as abortion, being able to curtail the abortions in the state, and there are basically hardly any laws. So I think it's one of the most important things that we could look at. SB 230 is the Jonesville. It's basically we're trying to add a piece of land in the Jonesville public use area, which was omitted, and as you know, that's kind of a lawless area right now. Because it's now a public use area, the DNR can write some regs to get everybody to play without killing each other, shooting in all different directions, dragging cars up there and burning them. Tenderite bombs going off at 3 a.m. in the morning. It's a little piece of land that was left out. It's about 80 acres of parking area. I've got an opioid awareness in public school bill. Basically, this is it talks to grades 6 through 12. These schools need to provide a prevention curriculum because this is a very big problem in the state of Alaska. It's a big problem all over the United States. We need to recognize it for what it is and the problem that it's causing, the deaths that it's causing. I think that's a very important bill. We've got for 9 years, HB 3. I've carried moving the legislature to Anchorage or the road system for 9 years now, and it's still a bill that I'm carrying. It gets very little airtime. I think Representative Garrett took my whole bill over on the House side, but that one I've carried for 9 years. There's a transfer on death for auto and boats. That's moving along. It's gone back. I think it's going to the floor now for a vote. It passed, so it's going over to the House. SB 203, SB 206, those they've had some hearings. Those are gun bills. SB 203 is basically defines the state's definition of prohibited weapons too much. Now, this is not my bill.
Get there.
Okay, this is not. I just want to say that this is not my bill.
Senator,
but you said what are important to me,
right?
So
Senator, can you hold on
yeah.
a second here? I'm sorry, we
Yeah.
lost you there for a minute. You were talking about HB 3, and I'm going to ask you to go backwards and repeat real quick what HB 3 is and what you've been working on, because we lost you there on my side for a minute.
I'm sorry. It might be out here. We're in the middle of a snowstorm.
No, it was on me. It wasn't on you. It was something locked up on my end. So go ahead and tell me about HB 3.
Yeah, HB 3, moving the legislature to the road system or to Anchorage has been a bill that I've carried for 9 years, and it gets very little airtime here in the Capitol. But I think it's a very important bill. People can't afford to come down and see me. It costs $2,500 for anyone from my district or yourself to fly down here, get a hotel room, make a session with me, and you might not even get it because we may be on the floor, and you might lose your shot. So we need to bring it back to the road system. This is the legislature, not the Capitol itself, but the legislature itself needs to have those sessions in Anchorage. Transfer on death for auto and boats. If you die and your spouse's name is on that title, it should not go to probate. It should go right to your spouse. There's two bills out there which I'm not really fond of. They're not mine. They're SB 203, SB 206. You've probably heard a little about them. They're gun bills. They SB 203, and we get hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of letters on these two bills asking us not to support them. And basically, it defines the state's definition of prohibited weapons to match federal definitions. But the terminology, the way many read it, seems vague. The state and local authorities have the statutory authority to allow them to prosecute anybody found with the possession and use of these devices, similar to like a bump stock and those.
Right,
So if
Glock switch or bump stock or things that are already covered in federal law, and actually, in
right.
all honesty, already covered in the state statute as well. It just seems like they're diving down into the weeds because it's already covered in Section C. They don't need to add a Section D to recover Section C. It's a pretty crazy take on that for sure.
Totally.
Yeah.
At 206, which requires parents to come up with a plan to lock up their guns if somebody reports their child as a person that would try to use it for an illicit reason. Now, the reason that your child could be, I guess, turned in could be bullying or intimidation or whatever, but it's somebody else's opinion on what that is, and that is it defined in the bill? I don't believe so, which
Right.
means it's very vague. And so now you could be chosen to incorporate a plan. Now you're on a list. So I'm having a problem with that one, and so are a lot of people that write in. This is what is bullying? What is intimidation? What is does Hey, I was intimidated. I was bullied. I was bullied when I was a kid. I grew up fine. You know what I
Right.
mean? You learn that not everybody's going to be enjoyed by everybody. But I'm sure what they're trying to do is go after something a little bit more important, but it's not defined. And I think the parents are going to be succumb to a plan one that is needless in some cases. So I'm not sure that this is a very good bill that I would support. I understand the content, I understand the intent, but I'm a little bit worried about the definitions of the content.
Well, that's the problem, is that when the government is very vague on something, then somebody has to decide. Usually it's some unelected bureaucrat who decides what a specific thing is, whether it's bullying or something else. And of course, you're talking about infringing on a fundamental constitutional right, both state and federal constitutional right. And so that makes it very, very difficult to just kind of throw to the wind as far as an amorphous definition of what it might be. I agree with that.
And I praise any parent that wants to lock their guns up before all that happens.
Sure.
Hey, and if you don't, you want to keep one next to the bedside, that's your responsibility too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, when I was growing up, we never had gun safes. When my kids were growing up and they were younger, we never had gun safes. We just had gun safety, right? We knew what it was. We did the common sense thing. Senator, we're down to about the last 5 minutes here, and I know one of the big questions that people have out there is what's going to happen to our PFD? Where does George Rauscher stand on the current status of the PFD, this leftover issue? I mean, I've been saying basically that my thoughts were if this wasn't an election year, we probably wouldn't get a PFD this year. Now, that was pre-Iranian war, so maybe we will get a little bit of one. But, by next year, it may be gone. What are your thoughts on the PFD? Where does it go? Where do you stand as far as, factoring it and everything else?
Well, and this question, believe it or not, this question was asked by the Senate members when they were trying to decide whether to confirm me. And basically, I told them, well, my district is rural, and my district doesn't get the services that you may find in Anchorage or you may find in a city. So the PFD is very important to them. And there's also 2 laws on the books. And as long as there is one book that says there's a formula out there for a certain volume in the PFD, I think that's something I'm going to want to continue to keep fighting for. Now, the question that you asked is, will it happen? Will it be there? Will that amount from the formula be there? I have a feeling that it won't be there. I have a feeling that it'll probably be somewhere around 1,000. I don't know. I can only guess. I don't sit on finance. I can't make the determination. All I could do is put in amendments, which you've seen before in my past history, to try and pay a full dividend. I think that's going to be my reach as I go forward. I think it's important for my district that they see that as something that's important to me. So that is one of the things that I'm going to be working for. Whether it comes out to that when it comes out of finance, I don't know. Can we put the amendment in on the floor? I'm sure that there's going to be an ability to try. And so that's my position on it.
Yeah,
Did
well,
you
we would hope. Yeah, we would
Okay.
hope that you and others on the Senate minority would push for a full PFD amendment. I know that there's a question of funding and everything else, but this should be part of the equation. This should be part of that discussion of what is a definite government service that we need versus what was the intent of the framers when they funded the Constitution. The Constitution was the PFD was supposed to be funded first, and then the rest of the stuff was supposed to come after that. And that's what we've lost our way on that, unfortunately, and we've been unable to right the ship on that. And of course, we've over the last 10 years since the first vetoing of it, we've started spending that money, and now we've become addicted to it. It's going to be hard to get us off that for sure. We got about 2 minutes here.
Well, I appreciate it. I do want to wrap up with okay, now I've got to do my office phone number, 907-465-4859. My email address, SEN for Senator, sen.george.rauscher@akledge.gov. I usually get here anytime early in the morning. I go home somewhere around 5 or 6. We try to answer the emails, whether you get a complete answer from me or you get a thank you from me. We try to answer all those emails. We get hundreds a day. We thank you for those that do write us. We thank you for those that do call us. We're going to support a conservative office here. It's always been that way. I don't expect that to change in the Senate, but I appreciate the fact that you guys had me on the show and I was able to speak to you. Sorry, my voice gets groggy in the morning, but I sleep with my mouth open.
They make mouth tape for that. Hostage tape is the best stuff you can buy. I'll tell you, hostage tape. Go buy some right now. It'll help you with your mouth breathing. Ask me how I know. All right, George, one challenge for you before you go. Like I said, it's been 6 or 7 years since you've been on the program. I'd love to have you back on the program more regularly. Will you come back on the show to discuss this at greater length, some of these things and some of the different issues?
Yes, I will. I don't have a date for you, but I will at least come back at least once, maybe twice before I get out of Juneau, and then of course when we get out of here.
Yeah, because I think, that's one thing. You may not listen to the radio. You may not participate in podcasts, but I bet there's a big chunk of your constituency that does both, right?
I'm sure.
You're not. I doubt you're much older than I am. I didn't grow up with any of those things, and yet I'm deep into all those things. So it's a good way to stay in contact, and we appreciate you coming on the program. I know you got to go. Thanks for coming out this morning.
Hey, thank you so much. We appreciate it, Michael, and you have a great day.
All right. Thank you for being part of it today. All right, folks, we got to go. We're going to be back with more in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense. Yeah. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this. Ben Carpenter at the top of the hour.
If you missed the show, you can listen to it on your time with Dukes On Demand. Oh, and it's free. Like America used to be. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay. Sorry. Laughing so hard. Good. Yeah. Can we get a firm commitment against SB 2? I really wanted to get into SB 277 with him, but we just, again, they asked that he could come on for 20 minutes, and I said no. I'm like, no, we need 2 segments to get into this. I mean, we need to, this is, and again, I appreciate Senator Rauscher coming on. I absolutely appreciate 100%. But I get so frustrated when politicians want to come on for 9 minutes. Or you could come on for, we could come on for a few minutes, and you can't, man, you can't get into anything in 9 minutes, 12 minutes. You need the full hour. You really do. I mean, this just proves that what we really needed was one more segment, because I wanted to get into the SB 277 question and everything else. Did get the PFD question in there, which I wanted to. Did get him challenged to come back on the program, because I was looking back in my text. The last time I had George on the program was 2017. That's how long, 2018, 2017, 2018. Was it 2017? It was June of 2017. 9 years. That's how long ago I had George Rauscher on the program. That's that's some crazy stuff. And I wasn't trying to dig at him, but yeah, I mean, you've got to, it's just because you don't listen to the radio, or just because you don't follow podcasts or whatever, man, you need to do it. So I'm glad that he's committed to coming back on the program. We'll see. Just know there was just no time. There was just no time on it. I had to laugh. Chris just said, "You just 6'7" to Senator. Epic." Yes, I did. Yes, I did. Just like all the cool kids. Just like all the cool kids. Let's see. I've seen one reply on Facebook on SB 277, and no, I didn't call. Okay. No, it's 277 is going to cause some real problems, but I think they may already be feeling the heat on this, and I'll talk about that in the next segment, because there's already some backpedaling and some wiggling going on, and I'll tell you about that here in the next segment with some absolute proof on that. We'll give you the rundown on that here in just a minute. But yeah, I think we've already started to scratch the surface on that and get the get the times. Get with the times. Get with the times, like the rest of us old people, says Melody. I mean, I love that. I'm so old, I don't even know how to turn a Come on, man. Come on. If my dad and my mom, who are in their 80s, can use a streaming service or send a text message or on Facebook, my dad's in the show. Was Dad in the show this morning? Did Dad say good morning this morning? I try and always mention him when he's in here. Because I had to reload the window, I can't see the old chats. Anyway, if my dad can figure it out, 85 years old, had a stroke, could still figure out how to use his phone and his TV for watching YouTube. And then you can definitely do it, George. Definitely can do it. Yes, my dad is in the chat room. Thank you, Terry. Hi, Dad. Love you. Seriously. Seriously. Can you not figure it out? Well, I just didn't grow up that way. Geez, when I was growing up and mom and dad, we had 3 TV channels. Are you telling me that you can't figure out how to get, anyway, just one of those things irritates the hell out of me when stuff like that happens. Just because what's funny is I've heard that so many times from clients when I'm selling advertising, radio advertising, and they're just like, well, I don't listen to the radio anymore. And I'm like, well, but how many of your customers do? Doesn't matter what you do or what you like. Would you like to have more customers? Yes. Guess what? They do. And in fact, the latest polling data just came out, or the latest metrics just came out from Nielsen. 93% of people listen to the radio every week. Even that 18 to 24 demo, 86% of them listen to the radio every week. It's not just Spotify. It's not just YouTube. It's not just podcast. It's crazy, isn't it? Radio is the OG. Radio is the OG. That's original gangster for you old people who don't understand the newbie stuff. All right, let's get back to it. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio.
On the Michael Duke Show, we talk about the serious Alaskan issues of the day in a not so serious way because we just can't be bothered to take things seriously. That's how you lose some hair. The Michael Duke Show.
Okay. Welcome back. I'm glad we were able to get a commitment from George Rauscher to come back on the program. I actually looked back at I misspoke when I said it was 6 or 7 years. He last appeared on this program in 2017, so 9 years ago. That was the last time he appeared on the program. So yeah, so it'll be good to get more information and more discussions. That's what we love to do here. All right, coming up at the top of the hour, Ben Carpenter from Oversight Live is going to be joining us, and we're going to be hanging out and talking about a lot of things, including, I'm sure, my hot button discussion yesterday on HB 277. David Boyle just mentioned in the chat room, I thought it was invited testimony yesterday. David, was it actually public testimony? Because my recollection was that it was invited testimony. He said there was a lot of call-in testimony yesterday. Probably 38 testified, all opposed SB 277. David said, then I started reading the written testimony, 120 pages of it. So far, all oppose SB 277. So it's interesting. I didn't get a chance. I was going to participate yesterday, and I got caught up in some work. And by the time I was 6 o'clock when I quit doing the work that I was doing. I was like, okay, I got to go to bed. Anyway, I didn't hear the thing. I would have called in. I would have made it a point to call in if I knew that there was a public call in. I thought it was just invited testimony, but we'll see. Now, I can tell you right now that the outrage, and if what David is saying here with 38 that actually testified, all opposed, 120 pages so far, everyone he's gone through is all opposed. I think that is just the tip of the iceberg. So David just said he thought it was invited testimony only. He said then he checked later and they changed it to invited and public testimony. That seems rather snarky / sneaky. Yes, I 100% agree. I thought 100% agree. Last minute, they included phone calls. Yeah, that's anyway. So but I think we're making some headway because you're already seeing some pushback on this. I had a listener send me their email that they sent an email to the Senate committee and to Loki Tobin specifically. Loki Tobin, of course, Loki Tobin and Rob Yunt, the prime sponsors of this bill. And they sent an email to Loki Tobin specifically, and there is already some massive backpedaling on this. Here's the email back. This came in yesterday to the listener, who I'm not going to identify, but the email back from Loki Tobin. We appreciate you reaching out. The Senate Education Committee introduced SB 277 to ensure no student is denied entry into any in-person public education program or class of their choice due to the cost, while also addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school program they choose to participate in. There is no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence program. I have already let our legal drafters know of concerns, and the committee will continue to work on ensuring our intent is clear and explicit. It's Loki Tobin. It's not, it says right at the bottom of her email, pronounced Loki Tobin. Sorry, I didn't know. Looks like Loki, anyway. This was her response. That was the response that this listener got back, which is, the first paragraph is a bunch of gobbledygook. We introduced it to ensure no student is denied entry into any in-person public education program or class of their choice due to the cost, while also addressing the impact of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all. What does that mean? What does that mean? And by the way, where is a student being denied entry into an in-person public education program? When we were putting our kids through IDEA, we had the opportunity for them to go to specific classes at the local schools, usually in high school, to take a specific class if they wanted to. So that wasn't a big deal. Why is that? Why is that part of the? Why is that even an issue? Or class of their choice due to cost, while also addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school. Who the hell wrote this? What? Also, what this is like a run-on sentence. This whole thing is like this whole thing is one sentence. I just realized that. This entire letter, this entire first paragraph is one giant sentence. And again, it tells us nothing other than, oh my God, we got caught. Yeah, she's obviously a PhD student. The Senate Education Committee introduced SB 277 to ensure no student is denied entry into any in-person public education program or class of their choice due to cost, while also addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school programs they choose to participate in. That was one sentence. I don't even shifting costs of supporting opportunities to. Okay. First of all, okay, great. There is no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence program, period. Okay. Then why do you then count all those monies into the district? You had to know. Look, I looked at this. It's very clear. It's very clear that you were trying to end run, and you were just hoping that nobody would notice. You don't take all the students and assign their funding to the community in which they live and not give them the choice and not be looking to defund or dismantle correspondence programs. You don't double the cost to charter schools and not expect that that's going to put some of them on the edge of financial bankruptcy. You don't just double it. You just don't arbitrarily. No, what we're trying to do is we're trying to ensure that no student is denied entry into any in-person public education program or class of their choice due to cost, while also addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school programs they choose to participate in. What? I mean, what is that? What does that mean? It's a double rainbow. What does it mean? I mean, fiscal note for SB 277, by the way. Thanks, David. $77 million. Who wrote the letter? Says Lisa. I think ChatGPT. No, I use AI a lot when I'm doing different things and I'm writing creative and I'm putting stuff in and out and I'm writing stuff and then having it rewrite it and then rewriting what it brings back. And I do a lot of that stuff, right? I'll tell you right now, well, unless they're using some low buck chat, AI, I don't think that AI writes stuff better than that. That was just like one giant run-on sentence. I mean, literally, there's a single paragraph a single period in 3 lines there, all while telling you nothing. Because again, no student is being denied entry into an in-person public education program or class. All while addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school programs they choose to participate. What the? Wow. Wow. No. Wow. That's all I got to say. It's crazy. All right. We're going to continue here. We got Ben Carpenter coming up here in just a moment. The Michael Duke Show continues. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. We'll return with more in just a moment. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back right after this. Ben Carpenter, Oversight Live, will be our guest. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this. Oh, I write creative and then yes, I do. I'll write a commercial. This is the benefit to me of AI. I'll write a commercial or two for a client. And if I'm not happy with it, if I don't think that it's not hitting for a mark for like I want to, and I'm trying to figure it out, I will feed those 2 commercials, 1 or 2 commercials into the chat machine, into the AI, and I'll say, rewrite this in the same tone, rewrite it. Tell me what it is. And then I'll take it out and then I'll look at it. And then I may pull phrases or sentences or bits and pieces out. And then may rewrite my own. It helps me rewrite my stuff. It's basically, it's a second opinion on what I'm writing. So yeah, it's a great tool. It's a great tool. Now I don't ask it to write copy first because its copy is weird, right? But I will help me. It does help me as a second opinion on stuff that I put into it. It's great. I mean, it helps me a lot. Anyway, yeah, I just don't even know what to say to this. This letter, I mean, okay, let me one more time. We introduced SB 277 to ensure no student is denied entry into any in-person public education program or class of their choice due to cost, while also addressing the impacts of inflation and shifting costs of supporting opportunities for all students in whatever public school programs they choose to participate in. Period. Whew. There is no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence. I'm sorry. I'm not buying that. My BS-o-meter is pegged on this. I'm just not buying that. It's kind of crazy. I see Ben's in the chat room, but let's see here. Let me pull this back down here. Ben's in there. Hello, Ben. How are you? Can you hear me?
Good morning. It appears that I need to set my count.
Imaging Edge webcam.
Yeah.
All I see is your webcam, and I can't hear you, Ben. Oh, it's because I had you muted. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Ben?
Yes. So I have to change my camera here. That's real easy fix, and it should be
okay. All right, there you go. All right, there you're on. All right.
Good morning.
Good morning. All right, Ben. I mean, again, help me out here. That first paragraph. Can you translate that for me from legislator ease to what it? I mean, it's like a whole lot of nothing in that first paragraph, or it's the first sentence.
Yeah, it's smoke and mirrors. We're gonna say a whole lot of nothing, and hopefully you think we said something.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like I'm a PhD student, so I'm going to use all these words like opportunities and addressing impacts and supporting educational costs. And I'm going to use all these phrases that make me sound smart. And yet the sentence really says nothing.
Yeah. It's the purpose of leadership is to make things simple when you communicate. Keep it as simple as possible, right? If you have to make it fancy and use a bunch of words, then you're failing as a leader.
Well, and I love the passing of the buck here. There's no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence programs. I have already let our legal drafters know of the concerns, and the committee will continue to work to ensure our intent is. Bitch, please, come on. You know exactly what you can't pass this off as, oh, the legal drafters must have drafted this. We have a different intent than what actually are you kidding me? Are you really trying to tell me that you're going to try and pawn this off on somebody else?
Yeah, it is obvious that the unions and the school administrators, and this is not something new. They've been talking about this for a number of years. It's just now coming to pass now. I guess they've gotten up the courage to do it, right? But they've been talking, even when I was in the legislature, we're talking about students shouldn't be able to participate in schools that are outside their district. They need to be forced to participate in the district in which they reside. And so this is the intent. This is the purpose behind the bill, is to keep the money local. Now, you could do that. They could do that right now. Like the school districts are fully able to compete, and every student and family that they woo back into their school district, that they can outcompete other districts, then they would get more money. I mean, the education establishment's the one that demanded a base student allocation design for deciding how we're going to fund education from the state, right? Right. That formula is working exactly how it was drafted.
Working as intended. I mean, exactly it. And it should be following. We're coming up on it here. I gotta, and I'm gonna have to at the next break, folks. I'm gonna let Ben take the helm for a minute because I have to go out and start my car to get things ready. I have to catch a flight out of Anchorage here at 2 this afternoon, so I'm gonna have to boogie out as soon as I'm done. So I gotta go warm up the car at the next break. So I'm gonna miss that snow. Thank goodness. 10 inches of snow up in Portage, and I mean, I'm gonna miss it. I love it. Love it. Dodge the bullet on that. All right, Ben Carpenter, our guest. We're gonna get back to it. Ben, I'm gonna put you back in the green room. We're gonna continue here in a minute. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more in just a moment. Don't go anywhere.
Buddy, put that thing back in its holster. We haven't gone anywhere.
I don't understand.
Check out the MichaelDukesShow.com for information on how to get access to the podcast.
Welcome to the party, pal.
The Michael Dukes Show.
The greed and the entitlement is astounding to me.
What more could you want from a low-budget radio program?
This is a dumpster fire.
That was just BS.
It is time to get a new perspective.
We know just what you need, and we've got just the cure. Open wide and prepare for a steaming hot cup of freedom.
I just don't fathom it.
The Michael Dukes Show, streaming live across the world.
Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome back to the program. It is the Thursday edition of the Michael Dukes Show, broadcasting live across the state of Alaska on this, your favorite radio station and or FM translators, and live around the world on the internet at MichaelDukesShow.com, where you'll find links to the audio-only stream, the podcast, and so much more. All right, hour two of the big radio show today. Ben Carpenter's waiting in the wings, former representative and now the host of Oversight Live. We're going to be chatting here in just a second about stuff. A quick reminder: on Monday we will be off the air. There'll be alternate programming. It won't be dead air. It'll be alternate programming because I'll be traveling back from Fairbanks. I'm going up to broadcast the Open North American Championships this weekend, which is the Iditarod of sprint dog mushing. So we're going to be doing up there Friday, Saturday, Sunday, up in Fairbanks, where it's going to be 20 freaking below. Thank you. This is my 20th year of doing it, and it may be my last, quite honestly, because it's a journey to get there from here, and we'll see what happens. But that's going to be Monday. We'll be back on the air Tuesday, but I just want to let you know so I don't get a bunch of text messages while I'm in the air. Or whatever, when I land and my phone blows up, where are you? I'm flying. So it's going to be doing what it is. So we'll be out on that. All right. Tomorrow's Firearms Friday. And that's it. Now we're going to go talk to Ben, because Ben Carpenter is our guest, the host of Oversight Live, which is a weekly show, a weekday show on YouTube. Usually starts about 7 p.m. He has them usually Monday through Friday, where he goes through the hot news of the day from the legislature, from his perspective as a former legislator, and he joins us this morning to discuss a little bit of everything. Good morning, Ben. How are you?
Good morning. And the value, I guess, of having your own program is I get to decide whatever I want to talk about.
Exactly. That's good. Well,
legislature, and sometimes it's something else.
Yeah, no, sometimes you do some other stuff too. The energy thing was very interesting, and the whole Iranian thing was interesting. Ben, I want to talk about two things today. Obviously, I want to talk about the supplemental bill and the conference committee, but I also want to talk about SB 277, which is this new education bill. And we just kind of went over at the end of the last hour, this letter from Loki Tobin back to a constituent who was like, how are you trying to destroy these homeschooling systems? You've read the letter now. We went over it during the break.
Yeah.
And I mean, what do you think is the intent of this overall? You mentioned that even when you were in the legislature, there was some discussion on things like this. They keep trying to assure us that, what does she say exactly? There is no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence program. Period. That was the shortest sentence she had in the whole letter. So what is the intent? What do you think is actually happening here from your perspective?
So, from the perspective of my local district, they've been suffering. The school district has been suffering from reduced revenue coming from the state. Okay. And the reason is because their average daily membership of their student body has been in decline. And there are many reasons for that. But their answer to that decline is partly to say to the state, we need all of the students that are still residing in the district, but participating in programs that are outside the district, and their membership counts for some other district's average daily membership. We need those students to be forced to be counted in our average daily membership. So the IDEA program is the one that's going to take the hardest hit because it's the most successful. It's the highest demand statewide correspondence program. It's been around for
9,000 students in IDEA, almost 9,000 students in IDEA.
So the Galena School District, who manages that correspondence program, stands to lose revenue because the students that are not in Galena School District aren't going to count towards their average daily membership. That's the intent here. It's to force the funding mechanism of the state to prioritize student physical location for where the dollars go. So it wouldn't matter whether you're in the Galena School District or not, your dollars would come to the Kenai Peninsula School District. So then how would Galena be able to manage a correspondence program outside of their district if they're not getting money to hire contact teachers outside of their district? They won't be able to. So it will kill Galena's IDEA program outside of their own school district. Any of the people that are participating with the IDEA program within the Galena School District, their students would count towards their average daily membership, and they would receive the state funding associated with that. But it's the students in other districts that would not count anymore. So it will kill the IDEA program, or at least it'll kill it in districts outside of the Galena School District.
Right. And not just the IDEA program, but Nenana's program is called CyberLinks. The Yukon-Koyukuk School District's got Raven. Between those three, they account for like 13,000 of the 24,000 homeschooled and correspondence schooled kids out there. And there are other programs, Frontier and a couple other ones that are very similar. But I mean, it would basically rip the heart out of the correspondence program in this state, which has been going on for 25 years. But that's not our intent. Then what is your intent?
There's actually a part of me that says, take your hands off and let them pass this in an election year. Let them pass it. Let them pass it. Governor, go ahead and sign it. And
go ahead and
what happens in the ballot box.
Yeah, see what happens. Well, because the one thing that I think it was Mustreed, or maybe I think it was Mustreed that quoted it. The Superintendent Johnson from Galena, he said, "You don't understand, because that doesn't mean automatically that these kids will come into your school district. They may just opt out. You know, the reason that they left the school districts were manifold, but one of it was probably because they just didn't like you very much, and they'll just opt out. And so you won't get anything."
Yeah, the parents are not making the decision to go to a correspondence program outside of their district because they're trying to slight the local school district. They're going to the program that meets the needs of that family. It's the model of competition. I can go to multiple stores to buy shoes, right? There's plenty of choices for me to go buy shoes, and I buy shoes from the brand and the store that serves my needs the best. In the case of the Kenai Peninsula School District and others, they've got a brand of shoes that nobody wants, or a percentage of the population doesn't want. So they're going somewhere else to buy shoes. Yeah, they could change their model of shoes. They could improve their shoes, and then maybe the locals would start buying their shoes. But that's not what the school district wants to do. The school district wants to go to the state and says, you know what? We don't want to change our shoes. We don't think that we need to. We need you to tell people that they have to buy shoes from our location. So if you live on the Kenai Peninsula, then you have to buy shoes from us. You can't buy shoes from a different store. You have to buy it from us.
And I've been warning that this is coming because I saw this last year before when we were first started talking about it. I saw it first appear in Fairbanks when they were talking about closing down some of the schools. And there was a handful of people in the different Facebook comments that started talking about those damn homeschoolers. They're stealing all the money from our district. They're stealing money from us, and they're shortchanging my child. How dare they? It was this outrage. Now, again, no deeper analysis of this. No, besides the fact that the homeschoolers they were only 90% of a student, and they didn't get the multipliers. So they were only getting the $5,000 or $6,000. They weren't getting the $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 that students who are in brick and mortar get, plus the federal monies, plus all the everything else. No matter that it's got a higher achievement rate, a higher scholastic score for all these homeschooling and correspondence schooling kids on average, no matter that it's being done for a fraction of the cost. Oh no, it's those damn homeschoolers, and they're taking from our schools. They're the enemy. I could see it, and I warned about it. And yet here we are right here. Here's another. We don't like what's happening, so we're going to use the government as a bludgeon to force you back into the system, back into the mold that we want to make for you.
Yeah, this is, I have a hard time describing it anything other than it's just socialist, elitist entitlement, right? We are the government. We are the school district, and you have to use us. It's not any more complicated than that. They're fighting for their lives, and they do not want to innovate. They do not want to change what they are doing. They want to have their version of education, their philosophical bent. They want the lens by which they see life through. And I'm talking specifically your decision makers in school districts, your unions, all of the influencers. They want to have the school district and the population partake of their version, right? And that's what they're saying. They're saying if you're living in our area and you're choosing to go see somebody else's version of education, then we're going to prevent that. You've got to come to us, because we could change this whole thing and do away with the base student allocation. Just force the districts to send their spending requests to the state, and the legislature would look at each one of the spending requests and decide what portion of it to fund, or they fund an even proportion across. I don't know how you would make it work, but you would just take away the formula here, and this whole thing would go away, because then you would have students in different districts. Wouldn't matter which physical location they're at. They would just explain, here's the number of students that we have, here's the building costs, here's all of our expenses, and this is what we need. And then you would not have this conversation. You wouldn't have this anti-competition conversation. You would just fund the need that is out there.
Yeah. Again, we're coming up on the break here. This last sentence then. So give me a BS-meter score on this final paragraph out of Loki Tobin's response to one of our listeners, where she says, there's no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence program. Give me your BS-meter score on that one.
Well, I don't know whether it's BS. Like, you could say this is the top of the list of BS, right? Or it's just complete ignorance. It's complete ignorance, because I don't think that the establishment is communicating to Senator Tobin that our intention is to kill correspondence programs. That's not what's being communicated. What's being communicated is we need to make sure that we have a balance of funds, right? We need our portion of the funds. So really, in essence, what I see is what's being communicated is ignorance by Senator Tobin, because as soon as you put the words down that says there's no intent to defund, but that's exactly what you're doing, well, then you're showing your ignorance. You don't recognize that your actions are going to do exactly that.
I mean, I know you're trying to be diplomatic, Ben. I know you're trying to be diplomatic here, but she says right here on her email at the bottom under her signature, she's a PhD student at the University of Alaska. And you're saying to me that there's no intent to defund or cancel any correspondence program, where that may not have been the intent, but that is the effect. It's called unintended consequences. We know it. There's a cause and effect. And if a PhD student can't figure out that there's a cause, yes, we do want more funding in there, but not realizing that if we do this, we're going to gut and implode these correspondence programs. I'm sorry. That's a bridge too far for me. To me, it's willful ignorance is what it is.
Yeah. If it's not willful ignorance, then it's lying.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's my whole point here, is that I feel that this is my BS-meter. Is just
BS.
Is totally pegged on this. There's no intent to defund or cancel. You know exactly what you're doing, Senator Tobin, Senator Yunt. You know what you're doing. Why in the world would you tackle something like this? And you always have to look at if we do this, then what's the consequences of that? Okay, well, then you always have to look at that. I mean, I served on an assembly, and I mean, I was nobody, and we did that when we looked at bills. What's the intent? What's the consequences?
Yeah. And the truth is kind of in the details here. Tobin could be right and say there's no intent to defund it or cancel it. We'll just reduce it. It'll be limited to serving the population within your district, right? So the IDEA program, for example, or the Matt Sue's correspondence program, they're not being defunded. They're not being canceled. They're just being modified. Right? It's all in the language that you use. So you're going to continue your program. You're just going to serve the people that are in your district. And then the Kenai Peninsula Borough and the Fairbanks Borough school districts, they all serve the people who are in their districts. And this thing all works because you serve the people who are closest to you.
This is what's patronizing, but this is a blatant a grab, as you said earlier, of people who said, we want to make a decision for ourselves. And Loki Tobin and Rob Yunt are basically saying, no, the government's doing it. We tell you what you need to do. You must. This is going to force you to come into line and toe the line with us and go to our schools. You don't get a choice. That's what it's saying.
That's absolutely right. You can go talk to the administrators. They are a bureaucracy that is defending themselves. Well, in the Army, we'd call it a self-licking ice cream cone. Okay. They exist to exist, and they're defending themselves. They are promoting their own continuation here. They see the writing on the wall. Kids don't want, and I asked two superintendents down here in the local school district, Sean Dusick and Clayton Holland, why are families choosing to leave your school district? They're still here. They've still got kids that are being educated. They're just not being educated by your district. In some cases, they're going to another district. In some cases, they're just not participating with any district. Why? Can you explain to me why? If you understand the why, then you might be able to woo them back by changing your policies, by growing, by competing, by answering the need of the parents.
Right.
That's not part of the conversation.
No,
that's part of the conversation at the local district. It's not at the state level. They're literally saying we've got to force the system to force parents back into our district.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Nobody's asking that. When parents leave the system's not bothering. There's no self-reflection. The system's not going, well, why are you leaving? What could we have done differently? There's no exit interview, right? How could we have kept you here? What would it take to keep you? What do we need to do? What changed? None of those questions are being asked.
No.
We're going to do it our way. By the way, as we saw in the last fight, just give us our money. Don't talk to us about policies. Just give us the money. We're going to do it our way. And if you don't like it, too bad. Oh, no, not just too bad. Now we're going to force you back into it. Well, good luck with that. Let me know how that works out for you.
Michael, here's the thing, is that parents on the Kenai Peninsula are the ones to blame for this. And I say that, I choose my words very carefully. Parents on the Kenai Peninsula are the ones to blame for this, because the school district administrators work for one organization, the school board. The school board makes the decisions for the school district. So when the administration is lobbying the state of Alaska to do exactly this, to screw the parents in the district that are choosing to go elsewhere, it's those parents that have pulled away from the school district and don't serve on the school board that are, in some respects, they're slitting their own throat. Okay, they're forcing the district to use whatever monkeys get elected to that school board that just rubber stamps everything from the administration, and that's currently what's happening in the Kenai Peninsula School District.
Yeah, well,
just rubber stamp what the administration wants.
Yep.
Then you're going to get the education system that you get. So we got to see new blood show up on the school board. These are people that care about education, and they care about the bureaucracy listening to the parents and listening to the school board. Those people have got to step up and run for office if we're going to see a school district that supports the parents.
And it's not just the Kenai Peninsula School District. It's every school district. It's not just a Kenai resident problem. It's every borough in the state is facing the same kind of problem. All right, we got to go. We're running late. Back with more. Ben Carpenter, our guest, The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Here we go.
Our light, our guide, and our trusted friend. Michael Duke Show.
Okay, Ben Carpenter is our guest, and I'm going to give Ben the floor for a second. Ben, you can change gears and talk about whatever you want for about 3 minutes here. I got to run outside, start my car, and I'll be right back. So, Ben, you have the microphone. Use it wisely.
That's awesome. I never anticipated that I would be in the driver's seat on Michael Duke's show. What awesome power I have. I appreciate that, Michael, and don't freeze your toes as you're running out there. I also wasn't prepared for monologuing on here on kind of feels strange. I mean, I can talk about anything you ask me to talk about, but one of the things that I found interesting yesterday from the legislature was this conversation about taxes. And I know that most Alaskans, if not all Alaskans, are like, hey, we don't need to have our legislature talking about taxes. Don't tax me. I don't want to pay taxes in this state. And who wants to pay taxes? Well, what we saw from the Senate Finance Committee with Senator Giesel and Senator Wielechowski's bill, 227, not 277, 227, was that they are throwing out some spaghetti to stick on the wall, and that's about it. They don't have really a plan. They just want to raise revenue. You've got this fiscal structural problem in the state of Alaska that the governor's budget produced for this next fiscal year that we're working on, that the legislature's working on right now, is like $1 billion in the hole, right? It's a deficit that's $1 billion, but it's a structural deficit because you've got this demand for a PFD, full PFD, and you got all this demand for spending and not enough revenue to do both. Okay. So the answer from the left is to poo-poo the governor's fiscal plan that would bring us into balance and instead produce their own taxes that would still not bring us into balance. So we would still have a structural deficit. So it's literally just a short-sightedness and a lack of understanding of the problem and a willingness to just disappear the PFD. Just force the government or allow the government to spend all of the permanent fund earnings, and we'll just add more taxes. And that's what the big government socialist wants. And we're lining up to support that in the state of Alaska. We're lining up to support that when we say we want a permanent fund that's going to support our government. We're lining that up. Eventually, we're going to have $5 billion or more to spend out of the permanent fund earnings on government. And if you say no to taxes and you say no to cutting spending, then there's no dividend, and all of your money is going to be going from the permanent fund earnings to pay for state government. That's the status quo and the trajectory we're on. And every year we have conversations about, well, we need more money in education, like we're having right now. Somebody will say, well, there's no more permanent fund earnings to spend because we've already spent it all. And now we're going to just need another tax. And the question will be, what kind of tax? Is it going to be a head tax? Is it a flat tax? Is it an income tax? And that's the conversation that's going to be going on forever. That's what it is.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to the party, pal.
That's where it's at right there. What have we been saying for so long? There is no, there's going to be a tax, and you're just going to have to be part of the conversation or not. And if you're not part of the conversation, you're going to get the absolute worst thing possible for you, because you're not, you haven't taken accountability for it.
So Michael, I don't know how much time we got, but tonight I'm going to be speaking at the Tustamia Lodge to a group of conservatives, and I'm going to be talking about are we as fiscal conservatives, are we anti-tax or limited government?
Yeah,
the distinction is important for us to understand. Are we anti-tax or are we limited government?
It's a great question because, again, we become one and not the other. And you and I have talked about that. In my opinion, we become so averse to even the discussion of taxes that we've allowed government to grow well and beyond its means because of that. 100%.
The structural problem that we have in Alaska is a byproduct of that conversation.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to rejoin here. We'll finish up our thoughts on 277. Then we can move over to the supplemental and anything else you want to talk about, Ben. Here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio.
As Michael always says when he's tucking me into bed, no man's life, liberty, or property is safe while the legislature's in session. Oh, wait a minute. That was Mark Twain. Oh, well, still true, though. Michael Dukes, we only steal from the best.
It's true. Absolutely true. He doesn't know that I didn't say that. Could have said that many times. Ben Carpenter is our guest, host of the show Oversight Live. You can find him on YouTube at youtube.com/@OversiteLive. One word, the @ symbol, Oversight Live. Ben, final thoughts here on SB 277. I mean, apparently, and this was the other thing that got me, they had a hearing yesterday, 3:30 in the afternoon. It was supposed to be invited testimony only. Then at the last minute, they added some call-in testimony as well, which a lot of us didn't know about, which I think is sneaky. I mean, that's just kind of sneaky. But overwhelmingly, every call-in, everything else was overwhelmingly opposed to it. Do you think that they are getting their hands spanked here? Was this just about the political posturing of, look what I tried to do and it got defeated? Or what do you think is happening here, and where does it go from here?
It could be. You can never discount that, especially in an election year. So it could just be answering the mail for the campaign contributors, right? That could be the issue. I think that the senators who doing the calculus here are looking at it is a bill, not a resolution, so it has to go before the governor, and it's highly likely that the governor is going to veto this. So, do you have a veto-proof majority to override his veto on this bill? And I think that the answer is no. They don't have that. And so this bill likely doesn't become law. So if you back the argument up from that analysis or that calculus, then why are you doing it? I think it's like you've hit the nail on the head here. I think it's just posturing. It's communicating to the public what they want to see, what the members of the public who are supporting those elected representatives want to see. And then they can come back to that and say, look, this is the challenge that we've got. Look at all of the opposition here to this solution.
Right. It's your virtue signaling, kabuki theater, right? It's just, look at me, look at what I did. And now they can say that for the election cycle. I tried. I really tried. But, we just couldn't get it. And so I need more like me in there to make it happen.
Which is really just a waste of time, right? I guess that's what the legislature is in some respects, is a waste of time, because there's so many people and so many different ideas, and there's a mechanism for all of those ideas to get heard. So not all of them are ever going to be passed or accomplished in a given legislature. So there's a tremendous amount of wasted time on things that are never going to happen. But through that process, some ideas get filtered out, and maybe it takes multiple years. So like I said, this conversation started multiple years ago. And so we're now to the point where we have a bill, and then next year there'll be another bill, and the next year there'll be another bill. And so that there's just it's attrition. We're going to get our way by attrition.
Yeah, no, exactly. Well, again, in like you said, on the one hand, I kind of wish they'd let it go through and the governor would sign it, because then they could really reap a whirlwind there. But on the other hand, I don't think it's going to go anywhere. I don't think the governor, and again, the pushback already and the backpedaling with this letter and everything else is pretty amazing. But it just shows you that they will basically say anything, because again, I don't think it's ignorance. I think it's disingenuousness, and I think it's deception. I think that's what the this response, oh, it was not our intention to do that. Bull.
What we really need is the documents. We need as many people to sign on to this bill as possible. We need to know where it's coming from, who's pushing it. We need that documented, and we need to have an up or down vote on the bill. We need to know where our legislators stand on doing this kind of thing. So maybe it doesn't pass, but I certainly hope that it gets an up or down vote on the floor, both chambers.
Yeah. Well, and I reached out to Senator Yunt, who had given me his cell phone number and said, call anytime if you want to have me on the program. And I texted him the day we covered this, and I haven't heard a peep since, which is also troubling from my perspective on that. All right. I don't want to spend the whole time on this. Let's talk a little bit about the supplemental bill. We just talked to George Rauscher. The Senate unanimously took the bill from the House, cut it back, pared it back to $373 million, 140 of which is a transfer back into the higher education fund. So really it's $133 million supplemental, or $233 million supplemental, I guess. And he said that if he had the information from the spring revenue forecast, he probably wouldn't have voted for the CBR vote on that as well. The House has been pushing back on it for a variety of reasons, but mostly because I think they see the opportunity here for where Burt Stedman and company kind of put this little poison pill in there that said, sure, vote it out of the CBR. If we've got more money, then we could take that extra money and spend it on something else. And they're saying, no, if we've got the money now, instead of borrowing it out of savings, let's put it in there. Now it's going to conference. And that kind of puts a whole new spin on it, because now you've got 6 members, 2 from the majorities and 1 from the minorities on each side. It's a foregone conclusion at this point that it's probably going to end up being a CBR draw. What are your thoughts on what's going on here? Well,
I don't think the House minority is going to give them the CBR vote. I don't think you can sweeten it enough for the minority to give it. So you're going to have to change it. The conference committee is going to have to change the funding source for that transfer, or remove the transfer altogether. Let's really understand what's happening here. You've got a majority for the current year's budget, fiscal year 26 budget, who said in May of last year, we don't have enough money to pay for our spending, so we're gonna take it out of savings. And we couldn't get a CBR vote then to take it out of the CBR, so instead we took it out of the higher education fund. So all of the pro-education and higher education fund people who want to see a higher education fund continue to grow, why do we want it to continue to grow? Because the interest that comes off of that fund is then spendable, right? And we can designate it for education. So don't reduce our ability, our principle, don't reduce it for our ability to grow. This is future generations of money we want to be coming off the higher education fund. Okay. So they took it from the higher education fund, and now they're not wanting to repay it with tax dollars. They're not going to repay it with a windfall of tax dollars that we have right now from oil. They're just going to transfer money from one savings account to the other. Okay. That's what they're doing. So in lieu of using tax dollars now to repay the tax dollars that they took from that savings account in this current year, they just want to have the minority support in transferring money from one savings account to another. So that gives them, again, the CBR vote requires a higher threshold vote. If they can convince people to do that, then that frees up money in the current year to have more spending at a simple majority vote. Okay. Or if you don't add that money into the current year's bills supplemental projects, right? If you don't, then it just rolls over into next fiscal year. So in essence, it's an additional dollar figure that can be spent next fiscal year, the current budget that we're working on, if we can convince people to just transfer money from one savings account to the other. If you're just transferring money from one savings account to the other, you're not repopulating it with money. You're still spending out of savings from one account or the other. The only way that their logic or their math would work to say we're repopulating the savings account is if you are taking it out of general funds and putting it into the savings account. People understand that. If you spend out of savings in your personal life, you can't transfer money from another savings account and say you've increased your savings again. You can't say that. You have to take it out of your paycheck and put it into your savings account.
Right. No, and they don't want to lose that $140 million in spending power. That's the thing, because if they have to refill the higher education fund, they have to take $140 million out of this upcoming year's spending to refill it.
Yeah. Or they have to take it out of this current year's supplemental. So what we've learned is that we've got $500 million more in tax revenue than we thought we would have in May. Okay. So at the point in time that they took money out of the higher education fund to fund this year's budget, they didn't know that they were going to have $500 more million than what they thought they had. So now we've got a supplemental and we've got other reasons for why we want to spend that $500 million. It's not on repopulating our savings account. So you would have to say no to something else during the supplemental in order to use that money to repay the savings account, the higher education fund. But they don't want to do that. So I think that's what has to happen in the conference committee. They have to either change the funding source or remove the transfer altogether, and they can kick that can down the road for a little bit and put it into try to put it back into the fiscal year 27 budget and repay it in the next fiscal year. So
none of this would be a problem if the legislature actually followed the procedures and did the sweep, right? And then didn't do the reverse sweep. That none of this would be a problem, because these monies would all be flushed back into the general fund. And then any excess would be transferred over to the CBR, and we'd be growing the CBR again, right? I mean, none of these things would be happening.
Well, yes, if we followed the intent of the Constitution and the creation of the CBR, which is any excess money at the end of the year rolls over into the CBR. If we didn't vote ourselves that money back into the general fund, then we would see a CBR that continues to grow. That would be another way to think about repaying yourself for savings, right? Because you would have increased dollars into your CBR savings account. But again, this is the dynamics within the politics. Is increasing money in the CBR is not the same thing as increasing money in the higher education fund, because of who controls it. Okay,
right.
A higher vote threshold of the CBR controls the CBR than what controls the higher education fund. And theoretically, people are looking at the money in the higher education fund and any of the statutes that say, hey, this program is funded with money from the higher education fund as, well, that's the way the government does it because it's in law. But that's a dedication of funds, and that's unconstitutional. You can't do that. So this goes back to this lie that we're telling ourselves, and conservatives do it too. Everybody does it.
Right.
That we can put something in statute and say the legislature has to follow the statute with regard to spending decisions, whether it's PFD or whether it's education funding in a formula. It's all a lie. The legislature cannot force themselves to do that unless it's in the Constitution.
Right. Ben Carpenter is our guest. We're going to continue here. One final segment dead ahead. The Michael Dukes Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free-thinking radio. Back with more right after this.
We're broadcasting live through a series of tubes,
allowing all of these entities to provide streaming stuff going on the internet.
Well, it's kind of hard to explain. Sorry. Streaming live every weekday morning on Facebook Live and MichaelDukesShow.com.
Okay, Ben Carpenter, our guest here. Let me get back to where I needed to be. I think the chat widget broke. It's just all of a sudden it's not chat widgeting anymore. It's not. Let's get the right there. Okay. Yep. There. I got it to work again. All right. Ben Carpenter, our guest here on the program. Ben, I just don't know, my friend. I would think that they would, you would think that they would start to learn about this, but no, they're continuing these machinations to keep access to as much money as they can. Again, the whole point here is to get over the hurdle of the 3/4 CBR draw early on, giving them access to this other monies when they show up, right? I mean, that's really the bottom line here.
The people who we lie to the easiest and most often is ourselves. And I really do believe that the House majority is lying to themselves when they say, well, we've come up with a really good plan and we'll just transfer money from the CBR to the higher education fund. You don't account for anything that the minority says, but you need their vote. You don't work with them on the budget. You don't work with them for finding reductions in spending. You don't work with them on their bills and their ideas. Okay. And then you expect them to just give the vote to enable your plan. Okay. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. It isn't a feasible plan because it's not something that's going to actually be able to be done. So you should have come up with a different plan at the beginning. If you want to repay the higher education fund, then you got to find monies that you control and don't need other people's help. If you're not going to be that bipartisan organization that you say you are, right?
Right. Well, it's frustrating to watch, but I mean, this is kind of where we're at right now. Where do you think? Do you want to make a prediction on where you think the supplemental budget vote goes at this point?
Well, I think that the supplemental budget itself has the votes to get passed. It already has in both bodies. It is solely the question about the funding of the transfer for the higher education fund. So if you take that out completely of the supplemental budget, then it passes. They got enough votes to make it passed. So that's the easiest thing, is to just remove that conversation from the bill. Just remove it completely. Now, if you want to say we really need to recapitalize the higher education fund, then you're going to have to find some other source of revenue outside of the CBR. You have a big pot of money sitting in front of you with the additional tax money that just is going to come in between now and the end of June for this current fiscal year. So your supplemental for this current fiscal year could recapitalize the higher education fund with that money. But you would have to say no to something else because you are already spending all but $65 million of that. At least that's what the OMB said. Director Sanders said in Senate Finance the other night. Okay.
Oh, so of the $545 million they're expecting in new revenues, they're already spending all but $65 million of it.
That's correct. They are now saying that they have a surplus for fiscal year 26, $65 million surplus. But that includes a $140 million transfer from the CBR to the higher education fund. If you take that out and want to spend that from general funds, then that $65 million surplus goes away, and so does some of your other spending in the supplemental.
They don't want to lose access to all that money. They want to spend more. They want to spend more on everything that they got. It's
they're just lying to themselves. They'll figure it out in the so you've got the two finance co-chairs on both houses chambers, and you've got a minority member from each finance committee on this conference committee. So the four co-chairs are going to figure this out. Minority members don't really count. So
yeah.
They'll figure it out. They'll remove it because that's their only option. That's their only play. They got to remove it.
Yeah, except for that they'll decide. Except for the minority member, they're not going to get the vote. They won't get the 3/4 vote unless they deliver something to the minority that will capitulate in that regards.
Yeah, I don't think that they have that. I don't think that there's something that they can offer the minority at this point that they're going to offer the minority to get their vote. I don't think that thing exists.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll have to see where this goes from here. All right, Ben, we're going to give you the floor here for the next segment, and you get a chance to talk for the remaining 8 minutes on whatever it is that you want to talk about here, and maybe tell folks what you're going to be discussing today and tomorrow. I haven't seen his grand jury show yet, but apparently he had a show on the grand jury that was pretty good as well. So maybe whatever you want to talk about, Ben. I'm not going to force you. I'm not going to tell you what to do, Ben. I'm just not going to be that guy. So we're going to get to it. All right, here we go. The Michael Duke Show. Common sense, liberty-based, free thinking radio. Like, share, subscribe, ring the bell. Let's do it.
On the Michael Dukes Show, we talk about the serious Alaskan issues of the day, but in a not so serious way. Because first of all, we can't be bothered to take it seriously, and second of all, we may or may not be drunk. Here's Michael Dukes.
Well, day drinking's a thing. Anyway, Ben Carpenter's our guest, host of Oversight Live on YouTube, youtube.com/@OversiteLive, if you'd like to go check him out. Ben, I wanted to give you the floor for the final segment of the show today. Anything else you want to what are you covering? What are you watching on? What should they expect if they tune into your show today or tomorrow? What's going on?
So this is interesting because I'm probably the only person that has connected the dots in this way. I have tried to connect the dots to the spending conversation, and from a fiscal conservative point of view, how do we get a less costly government? And I peel that back just a little bit more and say, how do we get better management as a tool? And I connect that to the grand jury. Okay. It is our policies in the state, our spending policies in the state, and the structures that we put in place is all part of the public welfare conversation. Okay. We should be expecting a grand jury to go in and answer some questions that are being asked in our audits. Our state audits, for example, or if there's whistleblowers, or if there's legislators, or if there's knowledge that comes that we need some further explanations for. Senate Finance came, Lacey Sanders, the director of OMB, came to Senate Finance and said, on record, we need another $2 million to go to Department of Law for the fiscal year supplemental. This was when the spring forecast came out last Friday. So did an additional supplemental request from OMB, from the governor. Another $18 million is needed, well past the 30-day statutory deadline for submitting supplementals. Another $18 million. Part of that $18 million was $2 million for Department of Law. Department of Law's and her excuse or her reasoning for this is, well, they've spent through all of the vacancy money that they had, and they need some additional funding for some issues that has been systemic over the last couple of years, and it's just been more expensive to do business. Okay, so immediately my Barbara Streisand flag went up. Right, this is BS. This is a BS answer. Okay, something here is mismanagement of money, or you're not communicating effectively or the right thing to us. This doesn't make any sense. A supplemental budget request doesn't have something to do with additional costs for multiple years, because you knew about that at the time you submitted the budget, the first budget. Second budget should be for emergencies. Okay, that's not what you're communicating. You're saying you just ran out of money. You ran out of your slush fund or your discretionary spend money that's built in, and you need more money now. Okay, why is that happening? The legislature is not asking that question. Legislative Budget and Audit Committee is not asking that question. The grand jury can ask that question. The grand jury can then subpoena everybody that they need to subpoena. They can ask for subpoena records from all of the various entities and figure out what the answer to that question is. And then they produce a report, and that report then goes to the public. And so voters then get to see what is actually happening. Same thing could happen for OCS. We got plenty of problems in OCS that are not seeing the light of day. They're not getting solved. And if the grand jury were to do an investigation into OCS problems, then the report that they generate should tell the public exactly what the grand jury found and what the truth of the matter is. What are the facts of the matter? And then you have a conversation through the accountability process that we have of elections on trying to figure out how to solve the problem. So do our state problems revolve around the fact that we're making poor management decisions? That's my argument. I think that's part of the problem. We're making poor management decisions with money, and that's part of our problem. Right. But we're not seeing that. We're not seeing that level of detail from the legislature. So,
and there's no accountability either, and no callback on no investigations as to why. Why didn't you hit us with this in your regular budget? Why is it an emergency?
And the answer is we need more money, so let's tax. That's the answer. We're going to turn a blind eye to what's happening in our government and just add more money to it. Okay? That's where we're at. So if you want to break that cycle, You have to have information. From the voter's perspective, you've got to have information. And the grand jury is the entity that can give you that information. It is, and this is where members of the public have to understand that the grand jury is not beholden to the district attorney or to the judge. It is not a product of either of those two entities. You're not a rubber stamp for the district attorney. You're actually supposed to take the side of the accused and the victim in finding out what the truth is when information is being presented to you. You're not a rubber stamp. You're not part of the process of indicting people. Like that's the only thing that you're supposed to do is just, whatever the district attorney wants that you're supposed to do. You've got the authority to start asking questions of other things that are on your mind.
Unless the courts say you can't, right?
That's the issue, is because now we've got a grand jury report that wasn't released, and that grand jury report was on corruption in the judiciary. So this is the government preventing the people from exercising the watchdog that the people created with the formation of our government. That's the grand jury.
Right.
We've come to think of it as just a tool of the district attorney to indict people, and that is misunderstanding what the concept of the grand jury is always meant to be. Yes, it is meant to have a say in the indictment process. It's so much more than that.
And I know that they're working on this. David Haig, I've been following some of his work on things that are going on. I know that there's been some discussion on whether or not that's going to get revisited. What's happening with it here? We got about 90 seconds. Can you tell us what's happening with that grand jury process?
So the court has recommended some changes to Court Rule 6 and 6.1, which deals with grand juries and grand jury reports, respectively. You need to go to the court's website, scroll down on the rules tab, and find the recommended changes, read through the changes, and then there's an email address there that you provide feedback to the courts. They're asking for the public's feedback, and this Rule 6.1 change, some of it is good, where there's more transparency and less discretion from the judge, but they're still maintaining their changes are still going to allow a judge to redact reports, portions of, or the entire report if the judge feels they have the discretion to do that, or it's in the interest of justice, right? So
the grand jury is supposed to be a check on both branches of government, all three branches of government, legislative, judiciary, and administrative. It's supposed to be a check on all three. And instead, it's under the thumb right now of the judicial, which is part of the problem here. Ben Carpenter at Oversight Live on YouTube. You can find him over there. Ben, thanks so much for coming on board. We appreciate you, my friend. We'll talk to you again next week.
Talk to you later. It's a pleasure, Michael.
All right, folks, don't forget, I'm off the air on Monday. We'll see you guys tomorrow for Firearms Friday. Have a good day. All right, Ben, quick hit. Anything left for us here on the way out?
Yeah, I just think that if we focus on fixing this grand jury issue, then some of the other things start lining up for the members of the public. We start getting some answers for the questions that are plaguing us, or should be plaguing us you can go look at the state single audit for every single year, and it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing that we've got people in government and in the legislature who are just ignoring the problems that exist, and those problems end up costing us more money over time. So when people say, well, there's just no room to cut, that's because they don't understand the problem. They don't understand the problem.
No, and we need that grand jury to be able to dig into those things, to take a look at it, and not have them under the thumb of the judiciary.
Yeah, we tried. Senator Hughes and I tried pushing a sunset commission to do a similar thing, but really all you need is a grand jury. You need 12 everyday Alaskans to start asking questions and demanding the government bring them answers. And then whatever the answers are, they publish them in a report and let the public decide what needs to be done in the legislature.
Yeah. Well, how many of the reports are we? I mean, we've got the Division of Elections report that was redacted and hidden, and we've got all these reports that we're supposed to look at, and they're not letting us see any of them. And that disinfectant, the best disinfectant is that transparency that we're looking for. All right, Ben. Well, thank you, my friend. As always, it's great to see you. Thank you for being part of it today.
We'll see you next week.
All right, we'll see you then. Have a great weekend. Okay, folks, we are out of time for today. I got to fly. I'm going to try and hit the highway here. Thank you for coming on board and being part of it with us as always. Don't forget to check out our Facebook page. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube to both my show and to Ben's show. We will see you guys tomorrow. Be kind, love one another, live well.
We've shed our terrestrial radio skin, and now we are slimy lizard internet people. It's the Michael Duke Show.